Oh, personally, I haven't seen it a whole lot. I mean, you've seen that in good markets, you see it in bad markets. Even in the best of days, I have a few realtors that I can rightfully say I pissed off. So, it gets down to it that any market you're going to have where you're not going to be able to hit value. Right now, it's going to be a struggle. And not even so much hitting value, it's having comps that are going to be, I guess, approved by the lenders. I just had one contact me yesterday about, well, that's 3 months old. We want something more current. I'm like, 3 months? That's a great comp, So it's a struggle from our end because they're re-reviewing everything we do and over-analyzing it and setting their own criteria on it. Different lenders are going to analyze it completely different. But as far as not being able to hit value and having a contract higher, the one thing I would say is, and this will help, I think everybody in doing CMAs as well as us doing our job, is if you have concessions, put those in the remarks when you put it in the sold category, so we can analyze that. And we'll know exactly, all right, it was an FHA with 3 points, or it was a seller concession of $25,000, because we're supposed to be knowing this stuff and taking that into consideration. The Mercedes in the garage, or whatever it might be. We have to know this kind of information, so that's big help for the appraisers as well as CMAs. I mean, if you're using something as a comp and then you find out that actually there was a seller concession of $50,000 on $1 million property, it's not a $1 million sale. And so it's real imperative to have all the information. Then we don't have to bug you so much. Yes.
I know that our MLS, we do not have a place for concessions, seller concessions, although I believe that MetroList actually has a place in there. And I've asked one of the board if we could talk to MLX about putting that in there, because, like you said, that can make a huge difference of what the final price really is.
I agree. The MetroList does have a place. I don't know if
that would be a question
MLX.
for the MLS board.
Okay. And I would say just put it in the comments when you add it in. Can you add additional comments at the end of a sale?
Can we put it in the agent remarks at the bottom?
Yep. Yep. And that's where I would look for it normally, and that's where I've seen it in the past, FHA, seller concession, but very few people tend to recognize that. And in a good market, it's probably not as prevalent, and for a while there you had the, what was it, something gold program, Colorado Gold or something. Anyways, it was the program where the seller would say, okay, I'll sell it for 110%, but you give me, I'm going to gift you that 10% as your down payment. Well, all right, semantics there, and it's a game that we'd have to justify, but that's all sort of gone to the wayside. But there are a lot of seller concessions that I've seen out there recently that I've been involved with on the contracts, and it's, by me being involved, it's great. I see it, but nobody else will know about it.
Well, how do we quantify furniture as a seller concession?
I think just by marking it furnished, you go into a Flying Dutchman and it's vintage. We don't put a lot of emphasis on it. But if you've got a $3 million house and it's selling fully furnished, a lot of times we try to quantify that somewhere along the line. And if they're all furnished, you're sort of explaining it that way. If only one of them was furnished, then you really need to quantify it somewhere along the line.
Hi.
Hey.
I heard that there's a requirement on the appraisers that you have to have a certain percentage of your comps for 2009. 2009, you've got to use so many comps in this year. And I want to understand how the 6-month quote rule and the area and the 2009 requirement for comps all changes your business.
Yeah, and why aren't you selling? Come on, we need those comps.
There aren't any.
No, I mean.
So how does that work? If you're, do you have to, as an appraiser, use, let's say, 2 out of 3 of your comps in 2009?
Preferably. I mean, I'd like to have the house next door that just sold yesterday. But you use what you got. You know, it really comes down to it. Now, if you've got to start making time adjustments for it, which some lenders are requiring, and in some, what we're considering submarkets, and Mike will talk about this with the new form, the MC form, when you're doing a specific range of value and you're seeing a submarket there that's indicating a declining value, you're going to have to justify negative adjustments, and it's going to be important to be able to quantify that. But as far as right now, if you're seeing a stable market or you're using stable across the board, I might use something that's a year old. If I get over a year, forget about it. You know, they don't even want to see that unless it's the only sale out of the project. I might put it in just to say, hey, this was the last sale there. So as far as the 3 month, yeah, they're coming back and saying we want only comps within 3 months, or 2 of the 3 comps within 3 months, and you're just saying I don't have them. I'd be happy to go out and buy something, but.
So there you've got to do the form, and then you've got to document it and make your time adjustments.
Yeah, and unfortunately, time adjustments are difficult to quantify at this point in time as well.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Just to add to that, there is not a mandated rule that says you need to have 2 out of your 3 comps within 3 months. Each lender is going to be a little different. Some are more conservative, some are,
okay.
But I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I think there's 50% less loaning out there, and there's just as many underwriters. And so you've got all these underwriters, just trying to keep their jobs by beating up the appraisals and declining these loans. So as appraisers, we got to really have our ducks in a row. And if we're in a stable market, we need to substantiate that. If we're in a declining market, we need to use negative time adjustments. And it's what used to take 2 hours now takes 3 hours. That's for sure on these appraisals. But no, there's no specific rule.
Okay, thank you.
Pass the mic on back to Mike.
Mike?
You might want to use the microphone. More time. As realtors, we are frequently preparing CMAs, and could you shed some light on what value certain things such as a 2-car garage over 1-car garage, or other such improvements on a house that might help us in working with those?
Which you guys want to ask? Okay, so I'll start with the garage, and then if somebody says, well, what about this? We'll just take that kind of a question specifically. Garage stall, the adjustments, and I think everybody's different, a little bit differently. Bob and I have had a lot of conversations in the past about doing appraisals, and we have ended up doing the same, or doing an appraisal on the same property at the same time. So lender requires 2 appraisals, and we've often compared notes afterwards, and while we end up doing the adjustments differently, different amounts, and so forth, it's amazing how often we've come within, say, 5–10% of a value, and arrived at value on a $1 million, $1.5 million kind of house. So everybody's got their own method. Doesn't mean anybody's more right or wrong for the most part. But the garage, for example, I would say you're at a minimum of $10,000. I would say the maximum that I've ever been at for a garage adjustment, 1 car versus 2, is $30,000. Now, obviously, it's going to depend on the quality of the house.